Hey everyone, what's up? Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Elise, and if you're not new, welcome back. It's great to see all of you guys. Today we are talking about the books that I read in July and August. During July, I was very busy working and preparing for a family vacation, and then the end of July and beginning of August, I was on said family vacation. I just did not physically have the time to film, edit, and upload a reading wrap-up for July, so I decided to put the two of them together. I was a little worried at the beginning of July, towards the beginning of August, that I wasn't having the best reading month, but things turned around. I'm excited to talk to you guys about some of these books. Before I continue, I would love to know what you currently are reading, or maybe what your favorite book that you read in August was. Please let me know in the comments. First book I read in July is Tales from the Cafe by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. I am filming a video where I try to attack some different series that I'm in the middle of. If you haven't seen the video about all of the series I'm in the middle of and you're interested in it, go check it out. I'm trying to get through some of those series and complete them and check them off my list, this being one of them. It's very cute, very wholesome, where more people travel into this very mysterious cafe in Tokyo, Japan, and they travel back in time for very specific and very different reasons. All of them learn very different lessons. It's very wholesome, very reflective. I just really enjoy the lessons from these stories. Anyone who is interested in reflecting upon life and mortality and the meaning of life would really enjoy these books. The next book I read is also going to be in a vlog in the future, and that is The Sacrifice by Rin Chupeco. This book is not a type of book that I typically would grab. It's kind of horror, which is definitely not my go-to. I ended up giving it a solid 4 stars, maybe even a 4.25 star. I thought that things started off slowly, kind of introducing the horror in a very minor way, and then it kind of snowballed from there, but I was already kind of used to it, so it wasn't quite so disturbing and alarming towards the end. I didn't get any crazy dreams, which is like a huge deal when it comes to horror and like suspense and thriller books for me, because I always have the craziest dreams, and that's kind of what puts me off from these kinds of books. But this one didn't. I really liked it. It was kind of like a horror fantasy in a way, following this TV crew who goes to this island of the Philippines, which has this kind of lore surrounding it, saying that there is a sleeping god, and in order to unleash the god's powers, you have to sacrifice like 8 people in a very specific way. A few of the sacrifices have been made. The series finds out about this island, and they want to go and film there, kind of like a reality TV show. So an islander hears about it, is trying to warn them away, and it kind of ends up getting swept into the mix of things. It's very mysterious. I saw some of the things coming, and then I didn't see others, so it was a good mix. I really enjoyed this book. Next we have Manhunt by Vanessa Vale. This is my first time reading one of her books. This was a quick little romance spicy book. It was very short, so I felt like the development of the characters and the storyline was kind of short. It was age gap romance. It was quick, it was short, it was entertaining, a good little palate cleanser. I am unsure whether or not I will continue the series though. The next book my mom is currently reading, so I do not have it physically with me, but that is Running with Sherman. If you haven't seen it yet, I did a video where my boyfriend chooses my TBR, or the books that I read. I go very into detail in that video if you're interested in learning more about it. To sum it up, this book is about an abused donkey that is adopted by the author of this book. It is a memoir. A local friend who's very good with animals says that that donkey needs a purpose in order to live, to motivate him, and so the author decides to enter into a race where the donkey and the runner run alongside each other, and so we follow this journey of the donkey healing and finding his purpose and the things that the owner and the author learns from that situation. There are some side anecdotes. You learn a lot about community. It was really good and really wholesome. I'll probably give it like a 4.75. So if you're interested in my reading journey and my more specific thoughts, please go check out that vlog. Before we continue further with this video, I will let past Elise talk about the sponsor of today's video. Don't mind me or the dishwasher while I make probably my favorite mid-afternoon drink. Cheers. There are a ton of great qualities about JAVY, but I want to give you some of my top favorites. First, being a coffee concentrate means that it can save you a lot of time. I am very busy as a grad student and a full-time worker and someone with a booktube channel and a long-distance boyfriend. Like, the list goes on, you guys, and I'm sure you have a ton of things to do and time suckers too. So why not grab that time from any little thing that you can, such as a coffee concentrate. Instead of having to set up a coffee machine, grind the beans and put it in the machine and fill it up with water and set the timer, and then you have to clean all of that up and do it again the next day, you literally just pour this in, stir it up, and you're done. I literally need any time saver that I can, and JAVY really helps me with that. Aside from that, it's also very mess-free. It's very easy to clean up. Really, the only thing that needs to be cleaned are your spoon and your cup. And as I mentioned before, my favorite noontime pick-me-up is an iced Americano. I don't have to deal with the fancy complicated espresso machine where I have to put it in and press it and pull it and clean it out really carefully. I literally just pour and sip. Another really great thing about JAVY is that it is a sustainable company. This company works with their vendors, with the people who provide the coffee beans, and helps set them up for success and to help with sustainability and nature and recovery of their farmlands. They have this whole little booklet that explains about all of that information, which I think is so cool. And they also have access to websites so that you can get more information. I've also been really excited to try out all of the different recipes. It comes with little recipes, you guys. Well, I can't try all of them right now because I am doing something called 75 soft, so I'm trying to avoid sugar. I tried quite a few of them and they're really yummy and really fun. I love the versatility of this product. You can put it in so many different things. Anyway, I could probably talk on and on about this product, but I'm gonna go ahead and stop at that. I am going to have a link down below for you guys if you're interested in checking it out. And I do have a discount code especially for you guys right here. Thank you again so much to JAVY for sponsoring this video. I really appreciate it. I love my iced Americanos. Thank you for helping saving me time and for giving me energy because your girl needs it. Okay, let's continue with the next book that I read this month. The next book I read is An Unexpected Paradise by Chelsea Curto. This is a contemporary romance about two office rivals. They have a very bad first meeting and become rivals, very sarcastic, snarky rivals from the beginning of their work at this company. The beginning of the book really reminds me of The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. It has similar vibes, but just like on another level. They take it up a level. And then they end up both being sent to this conference together. The main female character's ex is there and he is not a good guy. So the main male character is like, I'll pretend to be your boyfriend. Like, we don't support guys like this. I'll support you even though you're my rival. They call a truce and things ensue from there. I really liked the first 70% of this book. I mean, I zoomed through it, and then once it hit 70%, it really fell off for me. I enjoyed the consent of the spicy scenes in this book. I truly believe consent is so important when authors portray good consent. I just think that readers can learn so much from that. But the communication from the 70% mark just became a little too much for me. I just didn't see people actually speaking like that. It just felt like swimming through oil. So take that as you may. I'm not saying it's a bad book at all. It was very entertaining, but that last 30% really knocked down my rating. The next book I finally finished, I'd been reading this slowly for a few months, and that is The Vine Witch by Luanne G. Smith. I really enjoyed the writing style of this book. It was a little bit slower paced, but the writing style was so luscious and beautiful. This is a historical fantasy. involving witches, and our main female character is what they call a vine witch. So she pledges herself to a winery, a vineyard, and she helps aid the growth and the development and the process of turning those grapes into wine. So that was really fascinating. I loved whenever the scenes were focused on that, but there was a mystery kind of suspense element to it where she is falsely accused of something happening in the community. So we have to figure out what she was accused of, why, who did it, and like probably like a 3.5 star read for me. I'm interested to try out a few more of Luanne G. Smith's books, especially in this series. So I think I'll try them out because this was her debut novel and I thought it was really pretty good for a debut novel. Also very autumn witchy vibes, so if you're looking for something to add to your TBR for the fall, definitely think about adding this book. The next book I listened to was A Proposal They Can't Refuse by Natalie. Y'all, I loved this book so much. I gave it a 5 star. It follows this main female character whose family is from Puerto Rico, I believe, and then her family owns and runs a restaurant. Their family is kind of run down. They want to sell. She really doesn't want to sell. She wants to revamp it. She's the youngest. She's kind of scatterbrained, and they just really don't take her seriously, don't give her the benefit of the doubt. Next door, and also a really good family friend, is an Irish family who has a whiskey distillery. Her and the main male character used to be best friends when they were little. There was a misunderstanding. Now they're kind of enemies, but not really. They just like, they aren't really friends anymore. The two grandparents think that their children are lonely. They're not doing so hot health-wise, so they decide to put the distillery and the restaurant on the line. And the only way for them to inherit them and to continue them for the grandparents not to sell is for them to get married. There's this whole like fake engagement situation, the two of them kind of coming to terms with their past and trying to further the progress of the restaurant and the distillery. It is pure chaos, if I'm being honest, but I loved it. The narrator did a phenomenal job, especially with all of the accents. I thought she nailed it. I had the best time listening to this book. I thought that the situations that they were put in were not necessarily realistic, but the way that they reacted to them were kind of realistic, which I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed seeing the different family dynamics, and both sides of the families make mistakes, but I also really enjoyed them kind of accepting those mistakes and moving on from them, because I feel like so many times in books and stories and in real life, our family does so much damage and then they never accept the responsibility for that damage. I just feel like there are so many instances in fiction where the family does the damage and then they walk away or we never hear about it again. But I really liked how in this book the family is like, yeah, we messed up, let's talk about it. And I really enjoyed that. So found family, enemies-ish to lovers, kind of second chance romance situation. Really checked a lot of boxes for me. The next book that I read was an ebook, and that is That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Human by Kimberly Lemming. This is the 3rd book in the Mean Mishap series. I loved it so much. It follows a human who is kind of captured by a dragon and lives in a tower, very Rapunzel-esque vibes at the beginning, and then another dragon comes to check on his friend dragon who he hasn't visited in like 500 years and finds this human, and he's like, I need to save you, but she drugs him, and so he whisks her away to his castle until he's no longer incoherent. It's really funny, lots of humor, lots of adventure, and it continues kind of this universe from the Mean Mishap series. My only complaint is that it wasn't as spicy as the previous books, and I think that's because this series has been picked up by a traditional publisher, and I feel like in traditional publishing things are not as spicy as other areas of publishing. So that was my only complaint. I wish I had been a little bit more spicy compared to the last books. Okay, next we finally have another physical book, and that is We Were Liars. This is also part of an ongoing reading vlog that I'm filming right now, so you'll see more about that in the future, hopefully. So We Were Liars by E. Lockhart follows kind of this set of cousins and friends who go and live, is it the Hamptons? I forget. Anyway, they live on this like little island off of New York with their rich family. There's family drama. The cousins are being elusive, but the big to-do is that she had an incident and can't remember like anything anymore, and so she's kind of trying to slowly unravel what happened, get her memories back, and figure out why everyone's being so elusive. This book was not for me. I like the style of writing. I thought it was really interesting because our main character does have amnesia, so the writing style felt very amnesiatic. Is that a word? It felt very scattered, like I could imagine that someone with amnesia would have. So that was really interesting. I will say there were like two plot twists in this book. I saw one coming and the second one I did not see coming, and that was excellent. I did appreciate that. The next book is the second book that my boyfriend chose for me in that reading vlog, and it is A Visit from the Goon Squad by Jennifer Egan. Also very not for me. This was tough to get through. I probably would not have continued it if it weren't for the challenge that I was doing at that time, and because my boyfriend had read it before and remembered enjoying it, so I really wanted to be able to talk to him about it. A Visit from the Goon Squad is a book about drugs, sex, and rock and roll. Each chapter is a different perspective in a different time period, not in chronological order. So we can go into the past, into the future, into the present, into the past again, and farther into the past. And it's just like a giant puzzle that you have to put together by the end. So that was not my favorite, but what I really did like is the interconnectivity of the characters and the chapters. So each chapter had a few different side characters present, and one of those side characters was in the next chapter, and so on and so forth. So I really like the cycle of the story. I just prefer a little less existential books. This is a very existential book in my opinion. Very few of the characters have redeeming qualities in my opinion. I really enjoy connecting to characters, and I had a really hard time doing that in this story. This story is a thinker though, so if you really like books where it makes you think about life and the meaning of things and good and bad and evil and just how not black and white life is, this is a book for you. The next book I listened to was Accidentally Amy by Lynn Painter. This is just a very cute, wholesome, low stakes romance book. At the beginning of the book, our main character is late for like her first day of work. She's ordering a coffee and someone calls out a coffee. No one claims it, but it's the same drink that she orders, so she gets it. Has a really cute meet cute with this really handsome man, and so he thinks that she is Amy. She is not Amy. Goes to work. Said dude is her new boss. Oops. He thinks she's Amy. Things get a little sticky from there. Probably like a 3 or a 3.5 star for me, simply because of its simplicity. But it did the job. It was entertaining, it was cute, it was wholesome, and I enjoyed the ending. The next book I listened to is Dragon Heist by Alexander C. Kane. 5 star, you guys. 5 star. This book was hilarious. A book not to be taken too seriously. It doesn't even take itself seriously. Dragon Heist is a story based in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And there's this kind of like washed up actor. She's in her mid-30s and she'd always dreamed of being an actress. She was kind of rising to fame, and then the dragons came back from their slumber. They went into a slumber for like 1,000 years, but now they're back. They're taking over things again, and things are going to be run differently. So she blames the dragons for her problems and for her lack of success in her dream acting career. Well, this weird random dragon kind of like befriends her. They're trying to kill him because he's a weird different dragon. He isn't like the typical dragon. Befriends our main character Birdie and is like, we're gonna steal some gold. So they collect a group of people to go on this dragon heist to collect gold. Things are not always as they seem. It's very found family. It is hilarious. Hysterical. I can't remember laughing this much reading a book in a really long time. I had such a good time listening to it. The narrator is excellent. I freaking love Jim the Dragon. Please read this book if you enjoy humor and dragons and fantasy. Like, if you like any of those 3 things, just read it. Just listen to it. Okay, and the last book that I read in July is Engineering Fate by Alexis B. Osborne. This is a science fiction romance book where we start with a woman who is an engineer in space. She's checking out some satellites and fixing them up, and then gets sucked into a black hole and gets captured by like exotic animal traffickers. She can't speak the language, she doesn't know where she is, no help is coming, but there's this one humanoid lioness alien who is part of this like secret task force where they kind of stop the bad guys and these exotic animal traffickers. So he's on a mission to like prove that they're bad guys and arrest them, and then she shows up and he just has this connection with her. There's a lot of action in this book. I am very interested in continuing this series and seeing how it develops and more of the worlds in this universe. I think it has a lot of potential. I really enjoyed it. I gave this book a 4 stars. There's a little bit of spice, not super high spice. I really very much enjoyed this book. Okay, that is it for July. Now let's move on to August. August started off with the highly anticipated Fourth Wing. I had been toying with reading this for a while, but I finally got up the courage because the hype was so real. I was just like, there's no way it can meet my expectations. It did. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good blend of like action and telling us what's going on and what things are, but also that blend of lyrical with like the literary devices that kind of keep things a little bit interesting. I really enjoyed that blend of writing style. So that was like a check off the box for me. Then we have like fantasy, we have dragons, another check. I love the rivals or like enemies to lovers situation in this book. Another check. I love Xaden. I get it. Yeah. We love a tall, tatted, dark-haired main character apparently. I'm very excited to see this series continue and where the sequel and the rest of the series leads. It has a lot of potential. I'm very interested. Again, I had a few things that I had suspected that were true, and then there were a few things that I didn't see coming. It was a good balance of expectation and the unexpected. Fourth Wing is about a girl who is coming of age and she has to go into like a certain school in her country. She always thought she was destined to be a scribe, and at the very last minute, her mom throws her into the Dragon Riding Academy, which is very deadly and dangerous. Our main character, Violet, has some physical challenges that not most people experience, so we kind of get to see her growing stronger. We get to see her dealing with threats and making friends and going through this academy. I can't really say more because that would definitely be spoiler, but it was really well paced. I thought I really enjoyed it. I wanted to read this in like a day, but unfortunately I didn't have the time, so I read it over like a week, and I actually kind of enjoyed like savoring it. I could probably go on for a while about this, but just know I really enjoyed it. The next book is an audiobook called When Breath Becomes Air. This is a memoir by the author Pal Kalanithi. It was very interesting to me because it follows our author as he is a doctor kind of coming to the end of his residency to become a full-fledged surgeon, neurosurgeon. Towards the end of his residency, he finds out that he has like stage 4 lung cancer or something like that. So we kind of go through the process of learning about his past, how he came to be a doctor, his path to becoming a doctor, and like his reasoning for it. Hearing about that process was really interesting. It really made me think about my reasonings for things. There was also a lot of like medical jargon and medical moments, so if you're squeamish about things like that, definitely check the trigger warnings in the chat groups and stuff like that, because this might not be for you. The ending was really, like, it was really sad. You knew what was happening, what was coming, but it still definitely hit me. I was like sobbing on my way to work to go pick up the boys that I nanny. Like, oh, I started like I'm fine before picking them up. I really did like the message of this book. It was very reflective. The next book is the third and final book that my boyfriend chose for me in that video I mentioned, and it is Kiss the Sky by Krista and Rebecca Ritchie. This actually is the first of the Calloway sisters series. However, it's in the Addicted universe, and so if you put it in order, it's actually like the 4th book in the universe. I was very confused when I first read this. I didn't get into it about until about halfway or like 45% of the way, and then I was like all for it. This book is drama. They are in like a reality TV show situation, and there are some despicable characters that add a lot of drama. Their lives are already dramatic, but on top of that, the icing on the cake is the two main characters' relationship and the like growth and development of their relationship. I really liked Rose and I really liked Connor, so I think I might end up going back and starting at the beginning and rereading, like reading the actual Addicted series before this. It was a solid 4-star read, and so I wonder how much higher I would have rated it if I had understood everything that was going on and the motivations behind the characters and the past of these characters. I really think I probably would have given it a higher rating if I had had that, so we're thinking about it. But you'll see why that might take a while in a second. Next I read Ambrosia, which is the second book to Frost by C.N. Crawford. Now, I have read a few of C.N. Crawford's books before, and I was pleasantly surprised. I really enjoy the fantasy worlds that they have developed, but this series and this book fell a little flat for me. C.N. Crawford really likes cliffhangers and definitely used the cliffhanger in the first book to like spear this book, but I just really think the two of them could have been put together, and the second half of just the second book did not do it for me. It was like she wanted the main character to be really strong and badass, and just some of the actions and thought processes and things like that that the main female character did go through just kind of like reduced how badass she was, and it was like a wannabe badass. I don't know. I was disappointed by this book, but I still hope to give C.N. Crawford more chances. The next book I listened to was a pleasant surprise, and that was Killers of a Certain Age. I was going through like an audiobook slump. I have like 5 audiobooks that I'm listening to that are just not doing it for me. So I decided to give Killers of a Certain Age a try, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was so fun. It's about these like 60-year-old spies. No, they're not spies. They're assassins. But they're retiring and are gifted like this cruise trip to celebrate their retirement, and come to find out that either they are marks or they are just like collateral of a mark. They get out of that situation and they kind of figure out what's happening, and they use their skills from their times being assassins to help figure everything out and see what's going on. It was very fun. It was pretty fast-paced until about the 70% mark, and then things started slowing down, so that definitely lowered my rating a little bit, but this is a solid like 4.25, 4.5 star read. I thought the narrators did an excellent job. I really love the found family aspect of this. Found family is one of my favorite tropes, and they definitely nailed it in this book. It was also fun to read about people from a different age, a different time period. They're older than me, so it's nice like kind of getting out of the heads of like 20 and 30-year-olds and getting into the heads of like 60-year-olds. I don't know, I just find that interesting. The next book that I read was the Heartstopper yearbook by Alice Oseman. It was so nice going back into the Heartstopper world. I haven't been able to watch the second season yet. I want to so bad. I just love this universe and this world. I love Alice Oseman's art styles. It was really cute seeing like the progress of her art styles and seeing more art of our favorite characters and kind of like more about them like behind the scenes. And also I did not realize that a lot of her books are connected to the Heartstopper series, like Radio Silence and Solitaire and I Was Born for This. A lot of the characters are interconnected, so it's like a universe. I did not realize that, so I really am interested to pick up some more of her other books. I do have Love Lists that I plan on reading, but I really want to read more from that Heartstopper universe. The next book I borrowed from the library, Atalanta, so I will let Pastelise talk about that since I already turned it in. Hey friends, I have to return this book to the library soon, so I wanted to hop on here and give you some thoughts. This book is Atalanta by Jennifer Saint. It is her most recent release. This author also wrote Ariadne and Electra, which I've also read this year. At the very beginning of the book, we learn that Atalanta is a daughter of a king, and the king once a son lays her out to die on the mountainside. Artemis takes pity on her and has the bears of the forest raise her until she's old enough, and then the nymphs raise her alongside Artemis. When she comes of age, Artemis decides that Atalanta is one of the best amongst them, and she wants her to be part of the Argonauts who go with Jason to capture the Golden Fleece. She thinks that Atalanta will help to bring glory to Artemis's name, and that she is one of the strongest and best that could go on the voyage. So instead of Atalanta leaving her home from the forest that she grew up in with a nymph, she is surrounded by men who scorn her and do not treat her as equal, who look down upon her, do not acknowledge her in her strength and skill. So it's a kind of a story of female rage, of defying the odds, of defying the men who look down on her. There are some men who are more kind and more acknowledging of her, which I appreciated. It was very adventurous, a little more fast-paced too. It's really interesting watching Jennifer Saint's writing style and writing skills grow. Ariadne was very lyrical, very slow and lingering and internal, and Electra moved on to a little bit more medium pace, a little more balance between the action and the internal monologue, and this one was very action filled, much more fast paced. On the flip side of that, I wish that the action scenes had been a little slower, like not the speed of the action, but I just wish there had been more detail instead of like this happened and this happened and this happened. I really enjoyed the action scenes, so I wish that they had lingered a little bit, but overall I really enjoyed it. I can't wait to see what story or what demigod or Greek god or whatever, whomever. I cannot wait to see what she comes up with next. Okay, you guys, the last books that I have read in August and for this wrap up are also the reason why I probably won't be getting to a lot of other series in the near future, and that is because I am rereading the entire Percy Jackson universe. I read Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. I mostly listened to it on audiobook, but I'm like tandem reading the physical version and the audiobook. I needed this. I did not know how much I needed to reread a comfort series. I think I was on the verge of a reading slump, and this has cured me. I did not realize how much I missed this series. I don't think I picked up one of these books since 2017 maybe, and that was the Heroes of Olympus series. I haven't even read Magnus Chase or the Trials of Apollo, which are right here. I own them, I just haven't had the chance to read them. But then I saw that Rick Riordan, Uncle Rick, released a new book, The Sun and the Star, which is part of this universe, so I was like, there's my excuse. So I have read and listened to The Lightning Thief. I just love the voice of the story. Percy is so weirdly innocent in a way, especially when it comes to romance and freaking Annabeth, like bro. Also kind and like brave and just very loyal to his friends. I love the found family of the series. I love the Greek mythology. Yeah, so Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, The Sea of Monsters, which is the second book in the series. We have an addition of a few new characters in this story, and I love them so much. I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion or not, but I freaking love Tyson. Then we have The Titan's Curse, which is not my favorite of the series, but it does like introduce a lot of important things and kind of get the plot moving. And then we have The Battle of the Labyrinth, which is probably in a tie for my favorite Percy Jackson book. I don't know, this one's just so nostalgic and like great, but this one, oh, I really love The Battle of the Labyrinth. Then we have The Last Olympian, which I'm actually currently listening and reading, but I am probably 70% done, so I have no doubt in my mind that I will finish it tonight for the end of August. This whole series has brought me so much life. I cannot wait to move on to the Heroes of Olympus series. I'm so excited. And then the Magnus Chase and the Trials of Apollo, and then the Sun of the Star. So you guys will definitely be hearing a lot more about those books in next month's wrap up, hopefully. Alright everyone, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this month and last month's wrap up. Let me know if you read any of these and your thoughts on them, or if they're on your TBR. I would love to know. I hope you're doing well whenever and wherever you're watching this. Sending you good vibes, and I will see you in my next video. Bye everyone!